was conceived in Indiana, and then his birth parents chose adoption for him. And his parents from New Orleans journeyed up to Indiana to adopt him, brought him back to the great city of New Orleans. And when David was in high school, he heard from his birth mother for the first time, who was interested in meeting him. So after a little bit of consideration, David decided to say yes. And so we documented his journey back up to Indianapolis for the first time since he was born, and documented the reunion.
I don't want to live my life not ever knowing what might have been.
How did it happen for you, Philip, that this experience took place?
So the executive producer, Ben Clapper, and I know one another through college. And Ben heard about David's story when he was in high school through New Orleans circles. And Ben heard that David was going to go back up to Indianapolis to meet his birth parents. And Ben said, well, why don't we document this trip? This could be a good story. Yeah. So we met with David and thought maybe we'll make a 10-minute short film out of it. And I think the reunion and the circumstances surrounding David's birth were so dramatic that we could make a longer story, a 30-minute film out of it.
It's really, really powerful. And again, I mean, you have to really trust the people you're working with to have that story. So how did you kind of get involved? What did you feel about having this story documented?
When Ben came to me with this idea, the executive producer, I went and sat down with Philip. I met him for the first time. We had lunch in New Orleans. And
lunch in New Orleans.
Lunch in New Orleans.
I mean, it's one of the best places to have lunches in the world, right?
And so I met him for the first time, and I kind of thought about this for a few months, whether or not I wanted this to be public. You know, this is a very private moment. And after a while, I prayed about it a lot. I talked with a lot of my mentors in my high school. And I realized that we really have an opportunity here to change a culture on adoption. And I realized that I would be okay with this to be public. Yeah. And so I decided, I got to know this guy very well. He's like my brother now. I've been going through this with me. He knows a lot about my life, and it was one of the best decisions I've made in my life.
That's pretty a compliment, isn't it? Like, really. I mean, I think that's what's so incredible is that, you know, I even felt watching it that, you know, you were actually making a claim to change our perspectives, our viewpoints of why adoption takes place, what people are going through. And, you know, when you do meet your real parents, you're like, yeah, I mean, God, these were so young, you know, like you almost imagine what they could have gone through.
Right. And, you know, growing up, so what we've done with this film is just show a story. Yeah. We've shown how one decision for adoption gave me life, gave my parents their only child, gave my grandparents their only grandchild. Yeah. And in turn, been able to impact thousands of people with the adoption option. Yeah. And that's what we've been doing. I've been going around high schools. I've spoken at over 75 different events, sharing this.
Look at this man, like, geez, I mean, that's fantastic. Yeah. That's brilliant. And how does it feel good for you to be able to go and speak to others and maybe other people who have gone through it as well?
It is incredible.
Yeah.
There are so many similar stories out there. And when you're speaking to these audiences, they come and share their story with you afterwards. Yeah. And it makes everything completely worth it. And the most common question that I get about this is, you know, what was it like to meet your mom? What was it like to meet your dad? And to me, I didn't meet my mom. I didn't meet my dad. Who I met was my biological mother and my biological father. And that goes to a lot of stigmas behind adoption. You know, there's two stigmas that come to my mind, is that an adopted child is somehow lesser of a child than a biological child. And that is just not true. And that somehow the adoptive parents are really not the true parents of the adoptee. And that is just not true. And so to me, those are two stigmas that I personally hope that we can address with this film, to show the realities of adoption, to show the realities that it's not like a fairy tale, it's not all perfect, it has its negative sides too. And that's what we show in the film as well. it was still a tough decision for Melissa. And so what we hope to do is just share the story and share the truth of adoption.
Yeah, I love it. My nephew was adopted as well, so I wanted to watch your film to experience this, and I think it's so beautiful. Because again, when you're shooting a documentary, what is it like when you are working with someone and you've become friends and he's like your brother now, and you're going through this journey with him and you're documenting it? Because I mean, obviously within film you want to get the best out of the situation, and you want to. But this is so sensitive and it's such a subject. How was that experience for you as a filmmaker?
Yeah, it was difficult knowing that I'm entering into not only David, but his family and then his birth parents entering into this intimate moment of their lives. How can I get the best out of them for the sake of the story, but at the same time not intrude and maybe try to force them to do things that I would want to do for the sake of the film. Like I want to reverence their experience, and really let the film take a back seat to the biggest party, which is they're meeting one another for the first time. Yeah. So it is a delicate balance in trying to reverence this experience for them, and then also try to make a good film out of what we're seeing, what we're experiencing.
You really did make a good film. Like I just, as you just took us on your journey as growing up as a person, and just all the extracts that you got from just the build up of you as a person in your life, and it was very emotional. It was very emotional and quite incredible. Was there a moment when you just thought to yourself, this is difficult, can I do this? Or how is it having to have something that's personal but have a camera in front of you? What was that kind of feeling like? Yeah. It's not necessarily normal, is it?
No, it's not normal. I had no idea what it would be like. I've never been followed by camera before, but it made things very interesting. And having Philip honestly made things a lot easier for me, because as I was going on the train to Indianapolis, my nerves were increasing. They were rising. I was getting nervous, and it was nice to have him there, and he kind of would calm me down a little bit. But when it hit me, I think, was when I'm in the van and we're pulling up to Melissa's house. Yeah. And because the film's a little funny. I say some awkward things when I'm in the car, but that's just because I was so
stressed out. Are you kidding me? Yeah. It's a big day for you.
That's when I realized that this is really happening. This has been 20 years in the making, or 19 at that point. And so when I realized that I'm about to thank my biological mother for choosing adoption, that's when this really hit me, the significance of this meeting.
Wow. It's very, very powerful. When the making of this documentary, was there a difficult moment for you in doing it? Was it? I mean, a lot of people in documentaries say post, but was there a difficult moment for you?
It was definitely post.
Yeah.
Going through all this footage that we recorded, going through hours of home video of David. I mean, I got to know his life from beginning to end. Birthday parties, it's all the home video, the pictures.
Lucky you.
Yeah, I know. Lucky me indeed. Post was the difficult part, and then also. This was a passion project for us, so we didn't have a big budget, big crew. It was like crew of one. I got to pay the bills, so I got to work on other projects and go out of town. So that pauses the editing process. Yeah, it just makes it very, very difficult.
What is it like then when you just had this story about your life and your world, and then it's at a film festival, NewFilmmakers LA. It's in front of an audience. What is that feeling like?
It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's an incredible feeling. To know that this started off as one idea in the high school hallway in New Orleans, and then to have been able to have the support from so many people that have allowed us to reach hundreds of thousands of people with our trailer so far, and to make it all the way to Los Angeles and this film festival. I mean, it is honoring, it is humbling. It makes you feel that this is completely worth it. Like, what we've put into this documentary has been so much effort, so much work, and if we can impact just one person with the adoption option, our mission has been 100% successful. Do you agree with that?
Oh yeah, very much. It's all been worth it.
Yeah.
I mean, I just want you to be a speaker for the whole world, because you've got such a great. You've really taken on board what your child experiences, and you're just giving out so much encouragement and mentorship for others. And I think that's a credit to you as a human as well. Aside from what you've been through, you're ready to extend it and reach out to others. And I think that's absolutely incredible.
Thank you so much.
What is next? What's happening next? What's the journey going on for you next?
Well, as far as the film goes, we're working through social media, trying to expose as many people as possible to the film, to the trailer. And then on March 8th, we'll publicly release it online. We're talking with a couple of other folks about helping us maybe premiere the film on a larger scale come March 8th. Would you say?
That's exactly what we're doing. Just as many people that we can reach, the better.
And have we adopted you as a filmmaker yet, or a speaker? What's happening? Have you got the buzz yet?
I don't have that talent.
I think you certainly got talent. I think being able to communicate with people about the things that you've been through, I think, is absolutely incredible. And I commend you on going around and speaking to others about that, because again, like you say, if you could influence one person, then it's all worth it. Thank you so much for your film. Thank you for your journey. Thank you for your great talent. And we look forward to seeing much more of your work, and stay in touch with us, okay?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.